Welcome to today's CG Talk, Long-Term Solutions to Racism and Police Violence with Antoine Joyce, whom I will introduce in a moment. What many of you may not know is that before I got involved in the web in the early 90s, I started my career as a community organizer in New York City. Today, I'm deeply moved by the massive well of support that has arisen for a long overdue look at racism in America. In 1989, 31 years ago, when we marched with the Reverend Al Sharpton in Brooklyn to protest the murder of 16-year-old Yusuf Hawkins, about 300 of us marched, and there were more people on the sidewalks throwing rocks and bottles at us than there were marchers. Further, the New York Times and other mainstream media either ignored us or frankly were hostile. They attacked the Reverend Al Sharpton. Only the African American media covered us. Today, however, there are millions marching, and the mainstream media, the government, the business world, other countries are waking up to the fight against racism here in the United States. What made this possible? One important answer to that question was the day in and day out work of national activists and community organizers like the wonderful Antoine Joyce. This movement did not spring up out of nowhere. Many people over many years worked hard to create the possibility that white America would wake up to this 400-year-old problem. I first met Antoine when he was 12 or 13 years old. We can't remember exactly how old he was, but it's in that neighborhood. As a young African-American boy from Brooklyn's Bed-Stuy neighborhood, Antoine began performing and then volunteering with a youth development and anti-violence program called the All-Stars Project. He was so dedicated that he joined the staff in 1997, and today he's the vice president and city leader of the Dallas All-Stars. Through experience gained growing up with the All-Stars, Antoine has been instrumental in developing programs around the world: New York, Dallas, Newark, the San Francisco Bay Area, and trips to Europe, Canada, and elsewhere. He's also a DJ and promoter and has produced concerts and tours for, among others, the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame hip-hop pioneer, Grandmaster Flash. Antoine has also taught me a lot about racism and continues to teach me. What I learned as a community organizer 3 decades ago, and what I continue to learn today, is that white people like me, we don't know shit about racism. The only reason I learned anything is because young Black leaders like Antoine had the patience and the empathy to gently, and sometimes not so gently, kick my ass and teach me to listen. And to accept that when it comes to racism, I'm of course not going to know very much. I have to become a humble learner. Antoine, by the way, himself is a humble learner and listener. And he models what all of us should be doing, learning from everyone. And in his case, that includes from cops and from white and African American business leaders, from Republicans as well as independents and Democrats. He works with and learns from everyone. He's radically inclusive. I'll add, Antoine, that from All-Stars corporate partners, you've learned the art of working with business leaders, and you got so good at it that Hunt, Consolidated Energy Chairman and CEO Hunter Hunt, who by the way is a major bigwig in the Republican Party, invited Antoine to move to Dallas to launch the All-Stars there. He's also been a leader in reimagining relationships between young people of color and the police. This is really important. He's helped to run a program called Cops and Kids that brings cops and young people together to perform improv comedy and theater, if you can believe that. It's wonderful. As a social entrepreneur, Antoine has built the Dallas program from the ground up, where he and his team have worked with more than 5,000 young people and their families in the poor communities of South Oak Cliff and West Dallas. Antoine's gonna talk for about 15 minutes. As we went over this before, Antoine, you were telling me, as I know about you, that you really like conversations, right? So you're gonna talk for 15 or so minutes, and then we're gonna try to have a conversation. Many of you have submitted questions ahead of time, which Antoine has reviewed, and the most consistent question from leaders around the world at companies ranging from Airbnb to Comcast to Google to Microsoft to smaller startups like CoderPad is this: what can I or my company do? And Antoine has a lot to say about that. He's been leading the fight to build a new multiracial, multicultural world that focuses on youth development for his entire life. And just this last week, he wrote a great op-ed that I sent to all of you about how we need to have some hard conversations about race in order to heal and move forward. So for bringing us to this point where we had 30 years ago, 30 people marching, and 30 years later, we have millions marching, for bringing us to this point where we can have a hard conversation about race, for bringing us to this point where white business leaders can learn something about this, please join me in thanking and welcoming the wonderful Antoine Joyce. Antoine, thank you so much.
Thank you, thank you, Phil. You know, I'm still getting used to, even though we've been all in these boxes for these Zoom boxes for 3 months. It's still interesting to be in this environment. I'm used to a round of applause or something.
Yeah. Everybody, hey, in the chat, would you applaud? Yay! Let's put that in the chat. Raise your hand. You know. Woohoo! There you go. There we go. That's what I'm talking about. All right.
I'll talk about.
And you see that? You click on the chat.
This is great.
Yeah, it's going nuts. It's going nuts.
And thank you for that intro. So for those who don't know, with every production you have your rehearsal, and Phil said, "Do you want to hear my intro?" And I was like, "I want to be surprised." And it was touching. Thank you. I was writing down some notes. What the words you were saying. A learner, reimagining relationships, and again, what can we do? So there's 154 people here, and I hope that we and I use hope very, very carefully these days, because I was just telling our board chair, our national board chair, Maria Morris, I want to give up hope. And I don't want to give up hope in the ways that, that I think the world is not going to fix itself, that we're not going to fix this. I want to give up the passiveness of hope. I don't want to sit back. I don't want you to sit back and hope that things will get better.
Yeah.
Today is now the time where we have to do something. We have to take action, and hope is no longer an option for me. But I do hope that you get something out of this to move you into action. I wanted to, again, take a few minutes just to introduce a little bit about my life and a few points that I want to make, and then open it up for a conversation. As Phil was saying, I give a lot of speeches, but I love to hear from people and then respond to what people are thinking. I find that more powerful. But as Phil mentioned, I'm from Bedford-Stuyvesant, Brooklyn. And I always tell the kids, if you don't know anything about Bedford-Stuyvesant, I picked the cool thing. So everyone knows Jay-Z. He's from Marcy Projects in Bedford-Stuyvesant, Brooklyn. I didn't live too far from that neighborhood. And the lifestyle and the songs that he talked about was a lifestyle in a life that I knew very well. Oh, Margaret, that's right.
Got a Bed-Stuy, happening here. Okay, good.
Exactly. I grew up poor, and I didn't know I was poor. So again, these last couple of weeks have brought up a lot of different memories that I did not remember. But when I was growing up, and cognizant of what poverty is, poverty to Black America for me was Africa, because that's what the TVs told us. We were giving money and feeding kids in Africa, and you saw the young people walking to wells. And if someone said I was poor, I'm like, I live in an apartment. My mother has a job. I didn't think I was poor, and I didn't understand what American poverty was until I began in the All-Stars, until I was connected to other white people and I started being introduced to different parts of the world literally just New York City. And I didn't realize that I didn't have nothing.
Yeah.
I lived in a 2-bedroom apartment with my mom. My mom had 4 boys, and um, her boyfriend, jerry rigged bunk beds so that there was a 3-tier bunk bed, and I was on the top bunk in the 1 bedroom. And we lived off of welfare, and that was painful. You don't, again, not even understanding poverty, there's a shame around it. There's a shame that your mother brings home around it. There's the things that your mother says, and back then there wasn't an EBT card. You had to have the book, and you had to go to the store, and the rule was you can't buy any items. Your bill is void if you take it out of the book before you go to the store. And there was always this performance of going to the store and having to take it out of your pocket and look around, and you want to tear it out of the book very carefully, slide it really fast, because you don't want people to see you paying for your food with this fake money. You didn't have real money. You had to go to a supermarket and use a WIC check. And the WIC check was very specific. You could only get 2 milks, this cereals, and if you want anything else, you couldn't get it. And I remember being told, I can't have that thing because it's not on this WIC check. And those things, again, I didn't believe I was poor, but that embarrassment of using that always stuck with me for a long time. So you grow up angry, and I kind of refer to this in my op-ed. You don't even know why you're angry. You just know that you don't have a lot, and you're always angry. So that anger gets expressed in many different ways. And I'm lucky I was met by the All-Star Project at a young pivotal age of mine. And I'll be honest, I don't talk about this a lot, but I was just sharing this again with Maria, so I'll share it with you all. I thought it was cool to be a badass. I wanted to be a gang member. I called, my cousins lived in Brownsville, and we would run around and we'll throw rocks at cars and we'll throw rocks at people. And I called myself the intelligent hoodlum. I took on the moniker of a hoodlum. And I got good grades. So I was like, never ran very, somebody's from BV. I love it.
Yeah,
only Brownsville people know that tagline. And we ran across people's backyards, and we just did a lot of things that if we were caught, I would have been in the system. So that's why I would say I'm lucky, because it just happened to be that I never injured anyone. I never destroyed anything. But I just always was attracted to this because I thought that's what I had to do. It was kind of like the one option I seen. So I would carry around knives and things of sorts. And it wasn't until my teenage years, I was actively trying to join a gang. And again, luckily, my friends did not allow me to join this gang. And I repeatedly asked. One day, my cousins, they were starting to dance. They went to a talent show. And at these talent shows, I was overwhelmed with like, what is this? And all the young people and the energy and the applause. So that's why the applause is so important, because when I finally got on stage years later, those applause gave me so much confidence. The applause is what brought me back to every talent show. And the applause is what eventually gave me the opportunity to say yes to many more opportunities. The opportunity of one being a youth producer and producing a talent show in my neighborhood. So I was given empowerment to go and broker the deal, if you will, with the principal to let us use their auditorium to have a talent show. And every experience since has been how I even got to Dallas today. Someone gave me an opportunity to lead and applauded me even when I failed. So, You know, I don't want to make it rosy. I didn't get the school booked on the first try. You know, he had to go by like 10 times, you know. So I failed 9 before I got that first school booked. And I failed in so many other things in my life. But many people, and again, people like you, and particularly, you know, have supported me, encouraged me, um, said good job. And for a Black young man, having that come from a white person as well changed my life. I started to give up anger, you know, because I learned the white man was the devil and don't trust the white man.
Yeah.
And I can't even tell you like who the white man was, right? You know, it was a construct, but every white person I looked at was an enemy because that's what people told me. And I had to learn for myself that I can build and do and create new things with not just white men and women, but again, as you said, with gays, lesbians, Republicans, Democrats, independents, all types of people, and particularly police, who I grew a negative image of as well. And when I think of public school, you know, I remember getting books that had book covers with Yale and Harvard and Columbia on them, and you know, the subliminal images of that's where we're going to go. I didn't know what college was in public school, and then everybody wanted to be a fireman or a policeman, and you wore the costumes, and they came for you know, show and tell days or career day, and then one day you're 16 years old walking through your neighborhood that you walked through millions of times, and 2 white police officers throw you up against a wall.
Yeah.
And you don't know why.
Yeah.
And you're mad, you're angry. So fuck everybody now. And until this day, every time I think about that moment, the pain, that one incident, I was talking to my friend about it the other day, and he said the most wonderful thing to me. You know, I was like, "Do you remember that day?" He goes, "Never left me." He said, isn't it great that we have so many more memories to share than just that one?"
Yeah.
Yeah. So, so, so a lot of people ask me, why do I work with the police? Why did the All-Stars work with the police? Part of it is because I know that pain so well, and I know that I can build things. I've built things for 30 years of my life with different types of people I don't agree with, people that don't look like me, they don't have the same experience as me, but we've collectively created this beautiful thing where I changed my life and thousands of other young people had access to changing their lives and done that in their lives. And that's what I want us to do right now. So when I see the protests, um, I love that people are protesting, they're speaking out. I love the thousands and the millions. And I want people to build with it because the protests will die down as they always do. And the communities will go on and the police will go on. And I know someone asked about defunding the police, and you know, I'll get to that. A thought. I'm not an expert in that, but we still got to live together. We're still in this country together. And I don't care what political spectrum you're on or which president you love the most of the last 20 years, we're still living together. And I still got to walk past you. And I'm making a decision, a conscious decision again. We talk about performance in the All Stars, to perform that I will say hello to someone.
There's so many wonderful comments, Antoine. I think you're probably seeing this, right?
Yeah.
And you know, I'm so deeply moved that you're, you know, not only that you're here with us today and so open and vulnerable, but the day in, day out work and the decisions that you made to say, you know what? I mean, given all the many good reasons you had to be angry, and you do have to be angry today, and I would say all of us who care about this have to be angry, you have decided to do something positive with that. and inclusive. And you thanked me earlier for thanking you, but you know, the gift ran the other direction more. You know, I mean, the fact that you were willing to befriend me, given the history of this country and your own personal history and my own cluelessness about this, is, you know, that just it moves mountains, man, and it changed my life in a really powerful way. You know, and the fact that, you know, can you talk a little bit more about, I don't know, about what you're doing with the kids and how you're working with them?
So again, you know, you mentioned the programs, and thank you all for your comments. Just want to say that real quick.
Yeah.
So I grew up in the All Stars Talent Show. That was the first program, and in the All Stars Talent Show network, young people perform in hip hop talent shows, can also be the producers. And it's just such a simple concept. I love the concept. It's young people who normally don't have opportunities to be seen, to have a space to try things. Because when I talk about my wanting to be a gang member, it was images that I've seen, and it was a performance. I'm not a negative guy in that way. I'm angry, but you know, I probably would have been the worst gangster in the world because I'm. But it was a performance that I wanted to try on because that's what I see my friends doing in my neighborhoods. And for many young people, the talent show gives them an outlet to try things, to say those words, to not be judged, and again, to be applauded. And make choices. So we don't censor in the talent shows. And I remember a young man coming to me after school in Newark and saying, "Hey, can I curse?" You know, and in school he can't curse. At home he can't curse. At church he can't curse. So he's frustrated. He's writing down all these lyrics, and he just want to say, "Fuck this." And I'm like, "No, we don't censor." He came to the audition. And I was like, "Whoa, that's a lot of cursing." And
he took it and ran with it.
At the audition. And then you have a performance workshop. And the performance workshop is all about bringing young people together with other young people. And we have parts where we break the young people up into groups. So you get to work with other young people in different neighborhoods that you never worked with before or seen. And we usually give them a prompt. In Dallas, we'll say, you know, what is it like growing up in a poor community? Do you see it as a poor community? What can you do to better your neighborhood or something? And young people will share things with each other, and they'll come back and go, I didn't realize I wasn't alone in this. Yeah. That other young people feel the same way I feel.
Yeah.
And just that interaction, they released themselves. And then we came to the show, he didn't say one curse. He's like, there's families out here. He made a decision of the kind of person he wanted to portray himself in that moment. Yeah. And again, I think that's what the talent show gives, is opportunity for young people to learn how to perform on many different stages. I don't have to be angry all the time. I can use my anger to perform in new ways. And he was given with that. The other aspect of it is young people are the act liaisons, the stage managers, the MCs. So I did all of that as well. They're empowered to run the show. We give them agency to try things on that aspect and again, fail at it. And we're there to support them. And then finally, the audience comes to do a performance of support. We're trained so many times in our society to come and just support my people. That's my kid. He's the best. And we're like, you're supporting everyone's kid. They're all the best. And it's like, yeah, so give them all a round of applause. And again, it's infectious. So that's the talent show. We then built, now about 23 years ago, the Development School for Youth, where young people learn the performance of working in corporate America. And
I really want people on this call to hear about this because they need to sign up for this wonderful program that you have helped to build, Antoine.
Yeah.
So tell them.
Yeah. And development school for youth, look, it's a political tactic with a small p, right? Our donors, we are independently funded. We took no government funding for over 40 years. And we decided that we're going to go to people who have money and ask them to support young people in poor communities and support their development. And that's what we did. We did that in the streets of New York. We knocked on doors all over the streets. Phil, you did that. You know, suburbs of Connecticut, New Jersey, Long Island. Thousands of people gave. And these people, many of these people worked in corporate America. And when you have conversations with them, they will say, I have no idea the lives of young people like Antoine. So we created the Development School for Youth to bring young people and business leaders together in a new way. And today it looks very traditional. Some people look at it as mentorship. Some people look at it as career, job readiness. Some people call it, you know, just a traditional internship program. But it's much more than that. Because the performance aspect is very powerful. Young people are walking in corporate America for the first time. And people say, it's great to have exposure. Yes. But exposure doesn't mean anything if you don't know what to do when you're there. So beyond shaking your hands, we're teaching young people, how do they advocate for themselves? How do they stand up? So many young people have been told in the school system that they have no voice, that they won't even shake your hand and say their names. And if they say their name in a group of 30 kids, somebody laughs. And I'm like, what's funny about saying your name? My name is Antoine. I love my name. But people haven't been applauded for. They haven't been appreciated when their name was said. You know, taking attendance, Phil, you here? Yes. Next person. We don't celebrate like, thank you, Phil, for being here today. Great. You made it. And who knows what they had to go through to make it that day to school, right? What they did not eat, the clothes they did not have, the things their parents are going through. Thank you for being here. So they don't say their name. We also, so many white business leaders and corporations all around the country are teaching young people about stocks and bonds, mergers and acquisitions. You know, they're dropping, you know, names and phrases that young people never heard before. So then I'm asking young people to be, you know, saying, to do a performance of curiosity. Can you tell me what that means? And there's a thing happening there, because we also grow up learning that if we don't know something, we might be dumb.
Yeah.
Why would I know about mergers and acquisitions at 16 years old? Right? But maybe I'm dumb because I don't know it. Or maybe I'm dumb because the white kid knew it and I didn't. So then we don't ask questions, and then we don't learn, and we don't develop, we don't grow. So I'm teaching young people to, one, own their poverty, and not own it, you know, to be proud of it or to take it on as their responsibility. No one was born and said, I want to be poor. But own it in the sense of, I understand that poverty limits the things that I've learned in my life. So there's a lot of things in my life I don't know. And I'm asking you, Phil, I'm asking everyone on this call to teach me what you know. Once young people can do that, the performance in corporate America, it opens up for them, because they can walk anywhere and say, great, you want me to do a spreadsheet? I've never done a spreadsheet before. If you show me, I will learn and I will do it. And that's what the young people do. So after 16 weeks of workshops, we place them in paid internships. And that's the performance that they do every single day. Teach me.
Yeah.
I want to be part of the world. I want to be part of the mainstream. So that's the Development School for Youth. And finally, we have created a partnership with police across the country, particularly started in New York City. Dr. Fulani, our founder, created the program, and we've grown it to work in Newark, New Jersey, where we use performance and conversations, as you mentioned. We use improv to help young people and adult and police officers have conversations, new conversations, perform empathy. And in Dallas, the police officers walk with us through the streets and knock on doors. They do community outreach. The young people take the lead. They told the police officers, you knock like a police officer, so you gotta let me knock on the door, please. Thank you.
You got to teach them how to knock. Right.
Right. and then they volunteer at our talent shows, and they support the kids at
Police do. Yeah.
the
Yeah.
communities. So that's what we do, and that's what I've been building. And where's Dr. Falani? Dr. Falani, she's still working very hard. She's getting older. She's getting older, and she's passing a baton to a lot of younger youth leaders like myself, but still in New York, still fighting her biggest fight, or not her biggest, but her fight today is working on housing, and fighting the privatization of housing and the displacement of millions of residents in housing in New York City. So I'll stop there, and I'll stop there, and I'd love to take some more questions and about everything we're talking about and what people are thinking.
So Antoine, I mean, so first of all, and again, I just want to ask everyone to put the thank yous and the applause in the chat. Remember what Antoine was saying. We've learned to, we need to applaud each other, and especially we need to applaud the efforts of Antoine and his many colleagues, obviously, and the many young people. I mean, can you talk a little bit, Antoine, about what it's like to teach these young people to really say, I'm worthwhile enough to say my name. I'm worthwhile enough to say, I want your help. I want, I have a question. I don't know, but will you help me? Like, yeah. What have you learned about that? And what can these leaders on this call do? I mean, frankly, practically, they can get hooked up with the Development School for Youth, right?
Correct. So that's one way. So I'll answer both those questions, because that goes to like you said, the main question that people have asked: what can I do?
Yeah.
So you'll get a document from Phil that I sent later. That I wrote. There's a couple of things that that you can do. Then it depends on which part of where you're at, which step you might want to take. So yes, get involved with the All-Stars is one way to do that. Work with our young people, and the reason why is because what I go into the schools and tell the young people is that I am organizing affluent adults, and again, I know there's some Black leaders and some Black executives in corporations now, and we want them as well. Like that should be an obvious. And the young people don't normally have positive interactions with people that's not like them. People who have, who have privilege. And we always tell our white friends, don't be embarrassed about having privilege. We want you to use it, and we want to organize you to give it to the young people. You have, people have things. And I'm not just saying give material things or just give money, but when you invite a young person into your boardroom, into your office, that's part of you giving privilege. That's part of you opening up. And when you do that, then you have to be open to all the things that's going to come with that. There's a lot of baggage that's going to come with that, because young people don't know. They don't know what they don't know. They come to these businesses late, for the first time. They may come not dressed very well, because that's all they have, and I have many conversations with young people. I'm like, hey, let's talk about your shoe choice. Well, this is what I wear. And it's like, great. And we talk about it in performance ways. So let's talk about the different stages, right? There's different costumes for different stages. So Melissa, you look great when you was going to your Sweet 16. Like the dress, the heels with the forward pumps, I'm telling you, beautiful, amazing. The big earring, that's great. In corporate America, they're a little more conservative. So you might want to, do a regular flat, a business flat, or what they call a pump. And, even I struggle with this, because I'm like fashionably, I'm like, I have no idea. Like, what type of heel, one of my board members like, Antoine, don't you be making those young ladies wear heels? I'm like, I'm not making, I just don't want them to wear a forage pump.
By the way, Antoine, one of our members, a close friend of mine, longtime president of Rothy's, which is a new shoe company, and she says they can wear Rothy's. Let's talk.
Here we go. Right. So now I have a new language.
Yeah.
Again, it's being open to having hard conversations with young people. That's what I'm doing with having. You're bringing. We say in our vision statement that we believe that after school development is a new way of engaging poverty. It brings young people into the mainstream. And that's what we're doing. Because again, when you're impoverished, there's things you just don't know. Poverty stifles what you can do and stifles your growth. So,
and you don't know things that white people have no idea you don't know.
Correct.
Right? Like this is one of the things you teach white people as well as you teach the young people, right?
Correct. And that's what the learning, that's what we do a training with all the supervisors before an internship as well.
Yeah.
And teaching the adults how to work with young people in poor communities.
Yeah.
And again,
Lisa's got an interesting question there. I don't see that in the chat.
What's the question?
So Lisa Leshny, do you see that? She said, why should a young Black person have to change their way of dress to conform to white American or corporate ideals?
Oh, I love this question.
Yeah.
Great. So I don't think it's a change, and I don't think it's a conform. And in some ways, I think Black leaders and Black executives have been changing the way that corporate America looks, and that has been changing. But what we are saying is, if you want to be a part of the mainstream, learn what the mainstream is currently, be a part of it, and then you can also then change from the inside. So somebody just wrote, it's a costume, right? It's not a conformity, because look, I was joking with Phil earlier. Phil had a jacket on. I was like, wow, I really didn't go that professional today. I came sort of, summer cash. That was a decision I made. All of these are decisions that young people can make. And if they don't know they have the options, then how do they be a part of changing the world if they don't have the options on the table, right? So some companies, again, the construct of that company, it may be super professional and suit and tie and so forth. And if I want to work in that company, I'm making a conscious decision to work for that company and accept their dress code. And maybe when I'm in there, I might say, hey, can we change the color of my socks a little bit? How about a no tie day?
Right.
Now it's very cool to wear jeans and jackets and so forth. And I'm like, even I'm confused, but I'm like, I don't know when to wear socks, no socks, or no shirt, a jacket with a sweater and a tie. So I think business has changed over a while, but we want to teach our young people to have the most tools for success, the most costumes for success, so that they are prepared for the multitudes of what the world is, as we are continuing to change it and be involved in it.
Yeah.
So, Lisa,
great. And there's a great conversation going on in the chat. Hope, who's one of our council moderators, says, yeah, we're all performing and in costume in corporate America. Lots of people talking about, echoing what you're saying about options. Lisa reflected and was also saying the mainstream, yes, needs to change, and maybe there'll be looser dress codes. And I hope so. I've got my lipstick on. You can't really tell, by the way. I was asking Antoine if you, and I'm still playing with how, what are the costs, how far out can I go in the work environment, and I'm pushing myself to do more for that.
Yeah.
I'll say, inspired by you, Antoine, and what you teach. But go ahead.
I'll say one more quick thing, and I'd love to even answer some of the questions that we got in advance. When I first started working in, so a white man by the name of Joe Forgione was one of our leading donors in the All Stars. He worked at Merrill Lynch. He grew up poor in Queens. He's Italian, and made his way. And Joe was a staunch believer. He just passed away this year. He was a staunch believer of working your way up. And there was a moment in my life when I didn't have a job. Um, I was, going to college, and I was about to have a baby. My son, I was 18 years old, and I said to Joe, I'm like, I don't know what to do. I have no money. I can't buy anything. My mother's still raising three other boys, and I didn't want to put a burden on her. And Joe sent me to a job at Merrill Lynch, a job interview, and I didn't have a suit. I had my church suits, but my church suits, I was an usher, was mostly white, and they were very, loud because you wear special suits for different things like Easter, and I had colorful shirts. So I always equated my suits to the dance suits that I wore in the talent shows. We thought we were flashy, and we wore suits and ties. This suit that I wore to the interview was a white and black checkered pant, matching vest that my mom made, and a tie with black and white tasseled shoes. And I walked into Merrill Lynch. Thank you, Amanda. I walked into Merrill Lynch thinking I was going to have a job in some office somewhere. I've never worked in corporate America anywhere, but I watched Michael J. Fox, Secret of My Success, and I'm like, I want to do that one day. And she said, you're going to work in the mailroom. And I was crushed. And I got to the mailroom the next week, and the woman there told me, and she was the black manager. She said, you need to go to a store, buy 3 pairs of black pants, 5 white shirts, a couple of ties, black shoes, and that's your costume every day until you have enough money to afford different clothing.
Yeah.
Again, it changed everything about me because she was giving me the tools to be successful in Merrill Lynch in 1995.
Yeah.
So that's all. That's all what I'm saying about that.
And stages, again, people are commenting that love your idea of different stages and how you think about the costumes you wear
Right.
on those different stages.
Right.
So many great comments and questions coming through, Antoine. And so I wonder if you could say a little bit more, and again, not as an expert, but your point of view on the whole defund the police issue. Given you've been working with cops, you have a unique perspective on this.
Yeah. When we began our partnership with now Superintendent David Brown in Chicago, he was the chief of police in Dallas, and after the shootings, the shootings in 7/7 here in Dallas, where 5 police officers lost their life, he said something that I probably knew but never thought of in a way. He said that we rely on the police for so many things, to be the healthcare worker, the mental health care worker, to break up disputes, we created a police system that doesn't work for today's society. And when I think what I interpret people thinking of in defunding the police, not that we don't need some sort of something that helps keep our values in line, if you will. And I don't really like that terminology myself, but we don't put enough resources in the things that will help our communities, right? So again, I went back home to Brooklyn to see my family, and my aunt unfortunately had to go back to the hospital, and I'm downtown Brooklyn at Brooklyn Hospital, and I looked around, everyone in the emergency room was Black. And I was like, what's going on here? And it made me think about my aunt. My aunt passed away on her living room floor because she got sick and didn't believe in the system and didn't understand what it meant to get support. And I think about just what goes on in our communities and how people are affected in so many ways. And we don't talk about mental health enough. We don't talk about how to support our communities in the ways that can uplift, bring people together again. We don't.
Yeah.
We don't invest in education in how to be civically active. I didn't learn about politics until I was in my mid-20s and didn't know that I can run for an office or that these offices, you vote on these offices in my local community. Like many people, I only thought about every 4 years, you vote for the president, you know? So I think we need to take some time to invest in other areas that will support our communities to develop, that will support them to have more agency within the society that was created. And then we can look at you found it.
I just wanted to show everybody, this is Antoine Joyce in his hip hop costume.
Yeah.
And what is that?
That's like 1993, 4.
93. Yeah.
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 Exactly. That was one of my dope suits. That was one of my great suits. So yes, I have so much. I do have my empathetic side has very much appreciation for the work that police officers do have to do when you're going into a situation and you don't know, what's on the other side of that end. And yeah, so
yeah.
I don't think we need, if I want to report, if somebody still broke into my car, which happened many times in Brooklyn, I want to report it somewhere, right? But, yeah. And I don't want nobody to die over it either. Both sides are equal for me, yeah. Probably even the latter even more.
Yeah. Let's get to some more questions.
Yeah, please.
Thank you.
All right, I'm on.
So we've sort of asked this, but Amanda Richardson, the CEO of CoderPad, Amanda's a longtime friend and someone I think with great values and a real leader in Silicon Valley. She asks, the question that's on so many people's minds, and we sort of talked about it before, but let's talk about it again. What can I do as a mom and as a business leader right now? Something in particular, implement and change and do in her life, work in her community that can have a difference. Do you have some tangible advice? What would you do in her shoes or what would you recommend she do?
I'll start from what may be easier. As a business leader, and this is for everyone, get involved in any way that, I think, so I put that in the paper that you will receive later. We sometimes stop ourselves from getting involved because we want to make grand gestures, that we don't take the very small steps that we can do right here. I was
day in, day out. Yeah.
It may be, again, using a performance thing. It may be performing a conversation. There's an improv game or activity we play called Amazing Silence. You can practice this. In Amazing Silence, you allow someone to speak. You stop for 8 seconds before you respond. You just let, and the person that's speaking, you allow them not to say anything else. And you just let their words land on you and think about how you want to respond. And then you share your response after 8 seconds. And then that person waits 8 seconds and then responds. And in that activity, you hear people so differently. We're so quick to share, oh, I know your experience. Here's my experience of it too. I as soon as I say something, someone, yeah, I know what you're talking about. And do I really know? Even for another Black man, do I really know what you're talking about? Do I understand your experience? Do I understand why that has affected you that way? So I think we can listen more. So that's a very simple thing we can do with anybody in our office, in the streets, when we're watching the news. Just listen. Then, you can start a conversation with someone you never had a conversation with before. And again, be careful. Just to go on the street and just start going, can I talk to you? You know? But if you're in an environment where you feel like, hey, I would just, my name is Antoine. I was standing on the voting line when we was just recently we was doing our
The primary.
primary.
Right.
All the
Yeah.
voting. And it was a white man behind me, and I just looked at him, and in my head, I'm going, is he a Trump supporter? Like, and I'm making all these. I am, and I'm not ashamed to say it. I'm a little ashamed to say it. I'll be honest. But you make all these assumptions. And I'm looking at him, and I'm in Texas, and I'm like, and I just turned around. It's like, wow, there's a lot of people on this line today, and it's hot outside. I'm very happy to see that. He's like, yeah, well, I'm happy to see that too. And we had just a small 5-minute conversation, really about nothing, but I was happy to have the conversation about nothing with a gentleman I don't know that I made an assumption about, and he had a conversation with a black man he don't know, and I appreciated that. That was small. So that's one thing that we can all do.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. Thanks, David.
Yeah.
As a mother, that's hard. Even I tried to shelter my son from this. I won't say it's a mistake, but my son called me 2 weeks ago a week ago when the protest began, and he didn't understand what was going on. And he just said to me for the first time ever, he's 23 years old. He said, Dad, I don't feel safe.
Yeah.
And even with him, I didn't want to assume what he was talking about when he first sent me the text. I was on a call and sent me a text, said, Dad, I just want to talk to you. I don't understand what's going on. And when I called him, he's just like, I just don't like this. I was like, why? I can assume why you don't like it, but why don't you like it? And he said he don't feel safe. It just changed what we can talk about and his experience. He's in New York. He feels like a target now. My son he's such a naive, wonderful kid. He works at the Nike store. He just want to buy sneakers and travel around the world and just have fun and go to basketball games. And he just want to live life. And now he feels like the world is trying to kill him every day. For the first time that I've always had fears of someone calling me and saying, your son was murdered in the streets.
Yeah.
It's a hard thing to have to wake up every day and keep your phone on. I don't turn my phone off ever because I have to be ready for the call. Who wants to wait for the fucking call?
Yeah.
So as a parent, have the conversations, and nothing's going to help fix the pain of having the conversation, but we got to have them.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Antoine.
Yeah.
I love you, man.
Love you too. I didn't realize the time is going so fast, and there's so many questions you all asked that I'm sorry that we didn't get to, but I really appreciate them. If Phil, you give me an email, or if it's a big chat, I can respond to some of the questions through email. And
yeah, if Antoine, if you have a moment more, first of all, let's just be silent for a moment. Let's just be where we are with this moment and that powerful and hard story you just shared.
Yeah. Thank you. I did want to say two more things. So,
yeah,
this is not an easy road. We know this, and I've been trying to put some things in perspective of how long things take. So I was sharing this story earlier. When I was probably, you know, before I met the All-Stars, so probably 9, 10, whatever, I don't know. You know, you're playing in this. So again, I told you all the things I was doing in the communities. So playing in the streets, I picked up a curtain rod, an old rusty curtain rod. Very stupid, kind of stupid. And I put my finger in the curtain rod. If you remember old school curtain rods before the beautiful
Yeah.
things we have now, you know, they had a little hole, you know. So I put my finger in it and it got stuck, couldn't get it out. And rushed to the hospital, got 10 stitches. And to me, that's kind of where we are now. Like the wound is still here. I was 10 years old. Wounds are deep. They don't go away. This mark on my finger is a reminder that of that time. And for many young people like myself, the time I was thrown up against the wall. You know, one of my students today, 16 years old, talked about she was in a mall, and a white family was walking by, and the father said to his 7-year-old daughter that they don't hang around niggers. The wounds are deep, and it's going to take us even longer because we can make the cut very fast. That cut happened in 2 seconds, but I still haven't fully healed from that wound on my finger. I don't know if we'll ever fully heal from the wounds that America has given us as a community, but we can still build. We can still create, because it eventually, even though I see the scar, I can still use my finger. We can still create with other people. And then the last thought I was thinking of is for all the technology people on the call. You all know something about systems, and we know systems get obsolete, and we change systems. So let's stop trying to, you know, fix this system. Let's create a new system.
Let's upgrade.
Right.
America 3.0 or whatever. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's great,
So,
Antoine. And sorry for the technical problems there,
no problem.
Antoine. And this has been such a moving experience, and people are so touched. We're going to be sending out a document you created that suggests next steps. Certainly people can contact you. I want to encourage them to do that. I want them to think about how they can connect with the Development School for Youth, maybe bring some interns and participate in that program. But you also outline other things they can do in terms of books and movies, protest organizations, donations. You know, there's a lot. And Amanda Richardson, who had asked that question, as the mom, she was really moved when you said, you don't have to make a grand gesture. Do something small, do something every day. That was powerful.
Yeah. Thank you. And, you know, again, you know, my recommendations are personal to me. They're not exhaustive. You know, so as Lisa is saying, voting is important. And that's why I was saying earlier, we need to invest some more in civics.
Yeah.
It took people like you, Dr. Falani, the Independence Party, to teach me that what a community board meeting was. I never attended a community board meeting until I was in my late 20s.
Yeah.
I didn't know where they were, how they were, that I have the right to speak on behalf of my community and demand something. And so many young people don't know that. So voting, yes, and again, not voting from this current election coming right now. You know, there's a great, I wish I could find a link and send that back to you too. There is a hip hop artist that put out a video that talks about our government system, and what we always focus on is executive, but we never think about the judicial and all the things that you can do, and that we wait every 4 years to vote. It was beautiful. If I could find it again, I'll send that link to you too, because it's a great link. But there's so many ways to be involved. So anyway, and the movies and stuff, I realized it got a little heavy, so I added some joy in there. You know, they could. I don't want to hit everybody over the head with just so much heaviness.
Yeah.
It's a lot of that out there, but we can have some joy, watch some funny things, laugh, learn. So Phil, thank you so much. I'm so happy to be here, and thank you all for being on this call.
I want to just point out Elizabeth is based in Dallas, and she says, thank you so much for making me realize that hope is passive and that I can be hopeful, but I can take actions and not just, hope that it changes. And she says she's going to reach out to you separately since she's in Dallas. Excited to learn more.
Wonderful. We'd love to connect, Elizabeth. Thank you.
Yeah. Well, I know I don't want to end this. I
Thank you.
love this. I love this environment that you've created here on this call, Antoine. And lots of people are writing their thank yous here. Maya, I was supposed to connect you to the Development School for Youth last year in the Bay Area, so I'll make that happen. I realize I dropped the ball on that. And so thank you all. It's great to see the words, and let's Antoine, let's applaud the audience, and then let's have them applaud us, right? Woohoo!
I'm holding the phone, so I'll snap my fingers on this one. Yes.
Okay, snap, snap, snap. Yep. And then,
thank you.
Yep, here we go. Snap, snap. Thank you. It's wonderful to see. Wonderful.
Okay.
And it's great to see that old picture of you, Antoine.
That's a good find. Well, I actually headed to a community meeting with on Zoom with the police department to hear some of their new thoughts. So I got to take off now. So.
All right, good. Well, you go. Thank you. And thank you. That's great. Have a good call with them and give them some good thoughts, Antoine. Let's see.
Awesome.
All right.
Thank you all, and have a good night. Good day. Bye.
Good day. All right. Bye-bye. Thank you, everyone, for being here. Wonderful. All right. Bye-bye.